The Supreme Court is giving the administration a thumbs up to fully enforce the latest version of its ban on travel.
He had to go to court to get a temporary stay. What an insane situation we're in.
Peter Strzok also oversaw and participated in the questioning of Michael Flynn. It was Peter Strzok who changed James Comey's draft language in the Hillary Clinton decision from grossly negligent to extremely careless.
If Hillary Clinton had won, none of this would have surfaced. They just would have kept covering up all the corruption.
We're now one huge step closer to delivering to the American people the historic tax relief.
This is Armageddon.
President Trump spent the day in Utah, where he's promising to shrink the size of 2 national monuments.
Public lands will once again be for public use.
The Detroit Lions Stadium demolition is finally a success, and this is one of those second times a charm.
Right here. Let Trump be Trump.
That's the book right there. A bunch of color photographs and lots of funny stories. You know the expression that the president uses regarding Kim Jong-un? Rocket Man?
Yeah.
Elton John song. Would crank it up real loud on Trump Force One.
Right.
Coincidence?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
They tell all the inside stories, what kinds of foods he was eating on the campaign trail, and of course, let Trump be Trump. Corey was famous for saying, let him be Trump, and
That's right.
Many people said, no, we need to rein him back in. He said, this is why he's winning. This is why America likes him, because he is who he is.
Well, we know this. When the president was putting his staff together and just getting everything up and running, it didn't stop him from putting policy out there. And one was the travel ban that he put together. And originally, it was a little raw, a little rough, and a little ambiguous. But the third time seems to be the charm.
It was all about extreme vetting out on the campaign trail, and then when he became president of the United States, they announced a travel ban, essentially. And yesterday, the Supreme Court gave him a gigantic win. By a vote of 7-2, it allowed the administration to fully enforce the ban while legal challenges continue at both the Fourth and the Ninth Circuit.
A big victory for our country, many would say, because it's keeping potential terrorists in their countries and out of the United States. These countries that we're talking about, here's a list. It's Chad, Iran, Somalia, Syria, Libya, Yemen, North Korea, and there's some groups in Venezuela that are not allowed here in the U.S.
Yeah, 6 of the 8 are mostly Muslim countries, but they want extreme vetting. We've got to find out who's coming here, because if they come to apply and you have some type of refugee status, we need to know when you come here, you just want to be getting a fresh start. So here's what the ACLU said, because it doesn't seem like they're for this stunner. President Trump's anti-Muslim prejudice, no secret. It's unfortunate that the full ban can move forward for now. We continue to stand for freedom, equality. All right, you got it. So they're out for it.
Also, something else that's not a surprise, the 2 justices that were against it, Ruth Bader Ginsburg and then Sonia Sotomayor.
Ultimately, this comes down to the argument a lot of people have made on this program for a very long time, and that is the commander-in-chief can do whatever it takes to keep the country safe. Ultimately, Mark Stein agrees with the president.
Essentially, you have had, since this administration won a year ago, the permanent bureaucracy and the courts ganging up, basically, to cripple the executive branch. And the fact that he had to go to court to get a temporary stay actually tells you something about what an insane situation we're in. The president has the authority to ban by proclamation any aliens or class of aliens. What Democrats and the civil service seem to want to do, and that is to simply pass a constitutional amendment to say that in the event, God forbid, any Republican should happen to be elected president, then the entire executive branch shall just be put in the deep freeze for 4 years.
Yeah, it just seems these judges are playing too big a role in our country and our policy, and that's what we're looking at. We're just going to go rocketing up, pun intended, rocketing up the legal levers until we get to the Supreme Court, who weighed in. Meanwhile, 4 minutes after the hour, let's change gears and talk Russia.
All right, this FBI aide in the Mueller investigation, he's involved in this investigation. and works for the FBI, hates the president apparently, and sent text messages to a colleague, and now he's been fired. But not before they discovered some things about him.
Yeah, Peter Strzok's his name, and he's the #2 counterintelligence official at the FBI. And he seems to be in the nexus of everything that mattered from the summer to the fall to the winter.
So who is he? Well, he oversaw and participated in the questioning of General Michael Flynn in January. Of course, that's when Flynn said something that wasn't right, and they got him on that. He changed Comey's draft language from grossly negligent to extremely careless. Now, the reason for that is the word grossly negligent is criminal. Here's the thing. Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, had been looking into the edits on the Comey statement. And the way the documents work is you can tell changes were made. And he goes, who made that change? And they said, we'll look into it. Turns out it was this Peter Strzok guy. And when you look at all the things this single man has been involved in, it looks like he didn't like the president, the current president. He liked Hillary. And it looks like he kind of had his thumb on the scale. Representative Trey Gowdy, House Oversight Committee chairman, has a problem with people who are biased in a department that is not supposed to be.
People have the right to assume the people that are investigating them are objective and have not already made up their minds. That's why we need to see the text and we need to interview this special agent. But the Bureau's had a really bad last 18 months, and this makes it worse, frankly.
He was also the official who signed the document that launched the investigation into Russian meddling. He also is the guy who interviewed Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills when they were working for Hillary Clinton. And they lied to him, according to some information gathered by the Daily Caller, about when they knew that Hillary Clinton had a private email server. So they lied to him during the FBI investigation. About the same time, Michael Flynn lied as well. Michael Flynn got in trouble. They skated.
It just makes people question, what's the environment in the FBI? If you're able to do this, if you would think that he would say, all right, I'm not supposed to be biased because I'm working for the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
You would think.
But he's still sending these messages to a colleague. Did the colleague turn him in?
His girlfriend.
Did the girlfriend turn him in? How'd they find these text messages?
The Inspector General launched an investigation after the Chuck Grassley stuff.
Yeah, he's having an affair. Keep in mind, too, the Wall Street Journal today is calling for Mueller to go. They're really troubled, and one of it has to do with this. People are portraying, well, as soon as Mueller found out that Strzok might have been compromised because of text messages revealing his political slant to his to the woman he's having an affair with, I think, Lisa Page, that he got rid of him. That's not true. This has been, if you ask Devin Nunes how long he's been trying to get this guy Strzok in front of his the Intelligence Committee in the House, he's been unbelievably frustrated. Until he's threatened legal action, he wasn't able to get anywhere. So now the Strzok is going to come in and speak, and then Mueller acted prior to that. So how long did Mueller know about it? Why was he on Mueller's investigative team? Exactly. Is there anybody else in the Bureau?
It's disheartening for so many different reasons. First, he was fired from this investigation, but then moved to HR, not even fired from the FBI. The other thing that's disheartening is it appears in this situation, Hillary Clinton lied and lied and lied. She got off scot-free because these people were on her side. But if a Republican, if this happens to a Republican, there's an investigation.
Right, exactly. And what you're describing is it appears to be the appearance of bias.
Right.
Sarah Carter, who works for Circa, has uncovered a lot of stuff regarding what's going on with essentially what some people refer to as the deep state. And she's troubled by this man, what looks like bias, overt bias.
What concerns most intelligence officials and FBI officials that I've spoken to about Peter Strzok is that he was so overt about his politics. And remember, this was a complaint I reported on your show months ago. April, June, July, where I was talking about how FBI officials, the guys working on the ground, working on these cases, were stunned that some of their higher ups seemed very partisan to Hillary Clinton, and they were going after Trump and Trump campaign officials. And Michael Flynn was one of them. What we see now, based on this evidence, based on the fact that we know now Peter Strzok interviewed Flynn, that he was involved in the Hillary Clinton email server investigation, one of the central key players.
So she's no longer at Circus. She left a couple of weeks ago. Now she's at the Hill.
So, by the way, the Wall Street Journal also goes on to say not only do they have this #2 Strzok, who's put to human resources, which is bizarre.
I know.
Either let him go put them on suspension, but stick them in telling people how many vacation days they have left or if they have dental. It makes no sense. Meanwhile, they also have a problem with somebody named by the Trump administration, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. He was appointed by Mueller, as you know. He appointed Mueller. He's also playing an increasingly questionable role in resisting congressional oversight. So why is Rod Rosenstein giving Devin Nunes on the Intelligence Committee problems when it comes to investigating this case? What is his problem?
Ultimately, what it comes down to, how many times were we told that don't worry about the FBI, everybody there is essentially fair and balanced. They're not biased one way or another. At least now we know that it appears one guy, this Peter Strzok guy, got a problem.
I have a problem with the whole Mueller probe and where it's going. Now they're looking at subpoenaing records from Deutsche Bank on the president. Now I thought we moved past collusion towards...
well, now it's obstruction of justice.
So you got to go get Deutsche Bank receipts?
They're going for a Hail Mary impeachment play. Anyway, we'll keep you posted on all that stuff. And in the meantime, we've got some other breaking news, and Jeanine joins us right now.
That's right. Good morning, guys. We do begin with a Fox News alert, so let's get you caught up on what's going on out west right now. A massive wildfire in Southern California exploding and turning deadly overnight. Right now, police going door to door trying to get thousands of people out of its path as it approaches the city of Ventura, home to 100,000 people. There are reports people are trapped inside of their burning homes.
Sheriff's office, anybody home?
The fire consuming 26,000 acres so far. It is 0% contained. 500 firefighters are working to put it out. At least one person killed in a car crash blamed on the fire. A Texas police officer shot and killed, ambushed while executing an arrest warrant. The suspect began firing as soon as Officer Kenneth Copeland and other officers with the San Marcos Police Department arrived.
Ken's a hero. Today was his day off. He worked just about every day off to provide for his kids, and because he knows that we're shorthanded, we need the help.
The suspect, who hasn't been named yet, surrendered after a standoff with police. He was also shot. Copeland leaves behind a wife and 4 kids. It appears Democratic Congressman John Conyers will call it quits in Congress as another accusation of sexual misconduct surfaces. A family member tells the New York Times Conyers will not be seeking re-election for his Detroit House position. Conyers expected to make the official announcement on a Detroit radio show this morning. This as a 7th accuser who worked for Conyers for over a decade claims he touched her inappropriately at church. After a failed first attempt, second time's the charm for the Pontiac Silverdome. The longtime home of the Detroit Lions crumbling in seconds. That implosion coming days after a botched attempt to blow up the stadium when crews couldn't bring down support beams. That's a look at your headlines. I'll send it back to you guys.
If at first you don't succeed.
Try again.
Boom. All right, thanks, Jillian.
Yep.
All right, meanwhile, straight ahead on this Tuesday, Democrats threatening to hold the government hostage unless a new spending bill protects dreamers as well. But Congressman Mark Walker says he's got a plan to fix the broken immigration system without giving in to their demands. He's coming up next.
Those demands are Republican demands, too, in some cases. And washed-up wrestler Jesse Ventura isn't done taking disgusting shots at American sniper Chris Kyle.
I offered the American liar, Chris Kyle, the opportunity to show honor and courage, and he didn't have it.
All right, Congress scrambling to pass a temporary spending bill before the government runs out of money Friday as Democrats threaten to withhold votes unless it gives amnesty to so-called dreamers, DACA, so to speak. But our next guest says instead of giving in to President Obama's failed immigration policies, Republicans should focus on 5 urgent fixes. Here to explain is the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Congressman Mark Walker, who could also have a problem as we go into conference with the tax reform bill. First off, Congressman, are you concerned that they're going to be factoring in DACA to hold up spending and maybe shut down the government?
Yes, we are. In fact, there seems to be a growing consensus by some of the Democrats and a few moderates that this would be included in the spending bill. We have been told that's not the case. We have pushed hard. We've got 157 members. Recently, we just did a survey among our members, and we're very concerned about it and laid out the 5 things that were most important that has to take place, especially the top 2 or 3, to be able to move forward. As a former pastor, the evangelical church has moved on this. We want a DACA fix, but we cannot put it in front of some of these vital characteristics that we believe are important moving forward.
All right, so let's go over them right now. Here are some bullet points. You want to build the wall, or just get the 1.8 million to start, right?
Absolutely. This is crucial. Build the wall. That may include drone surveillance. It may include increased border agents. But we've got to complete what we've already promised the American people. In fact, in many cases, what Democrats promised that they would do. It's one of the first oaths that we take is to secure and protect the people of the United States. That's something that's very important to us.
You're going to have to increase manpower, but you got to address the visa overstays. You got to start picking people up and taking people out.
Brian, 600,000 people last year alone overstayed their visas. This is a huge problem. We talk about securing a border. That's number one. But we've also got to do something to make sure that we're doing our best. Yes.
All right. So this has got to be, well, you guys got to decide this in a couple of days, or you get a 2-week extension and decide it before Christmas. Also, you wanted to fund sanctuary cities, which we were watching that wrestling match. Require E-Verify. That shouldn't be a problem by now. Enact a rational immigration system. Now, when it comes to immigration reform, you got a problem in conference. I know you do, Congressman Walker, because Senator Jeff Flake and Susan Collins want DACA, some type of protections for the soon-to-be Obama-era program that shields children of undocumented immigrants. You say that's a non-starter. That's going to be a problem.
It is going to be a problem, and the data's on our side. You just talked about the number 3 was defining sanctuary cities. 2015, there are not just criminally charged, there's 40,000 convicted felons walking around, people that have done horrible crimes. Some of our friends say sometimes that, well, those numbers do not outlie, or they're not larger than what we normally see. Tell that to the victims of those families who have dealt with these crimes. This is doing our duty. This is not some kind of crazy far-right wing move on this. This is just doing the basic of securing our borders. We're going to push back against Senator Flake. We're going to push back against Senator Collins. The president was exactly right, returning this back to the legislative branch. But, Brian, we have to deliver on this.
Yeah, I just see you also can go online and see the GOP has named their House members into the Congress, into the conference, Democrats too. Now we'll see what the Senate does. Hey, Congressman Walker, always appreciate you going out front with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, straight ahead. Forget ISIS. Nancy Pelosi says the Republican tax cut plan we just discussed is the real threat to civilization. Listen.
It is the end of the road. This health care, the debate on health care is life, death. This is Armageddon.
We have some quick headlines this morning, starting with a Fox News alert. ISIS is now planning bloody and destructive attacks from the desert. The terror group still working on deadly plots in Iraq and Syria, despite being pushed out of major cities by U.S.-backed coalition forces. A military spokesperson says the jihadis want to launch spectacular attacks on civilians and local forces. And President Trump could recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital by the end of the week. The pending announcement prompting new security warnings at American embassies worldwide. According to Politico, the State Department is concerned the decision could spark violent responses from Palestinians and from the rest of the Arab world. Steve?
Thanks, Ainsley. Democrats lashing out against the new tax cuts plan, calling it class warfare.
The Trump tax plan puts income inequality on steroids. Who loses in the equation? Working people and middle-class people.
They're willing to penalize poor people, hard-working Americans who don't make a lot of money.
This is class warfare, and we're going to stand up and fight back.
Okay, but doesn't a tax cut across the board help everybody? Here for a debate is the executive director of the Black Sphere and Fox News contributor, Kevin Jackson, along with Democratic strategist Scott Levinson. Guys, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, let's start with you, Kevin. This tax cut, for the most part, is across the board. And when you look at how it benefits the middle class, we've got a graphic. It doubles the standard deduction, also a doubling of the child tax credit. It preserves college loan and medical expense deductions as well. That doesn't exactly look like Armageddon to me.
Right. I would love to see Donald Trump come out and say, if you like your tax plan, you can keep your tax plan. It would be so fitting. Look, we got the Democrats passed Obamacare claiming that it was going to be this panacea for everything. It was a horrible piece of legislation. We've already figured out it's raise people's health care, quite frankly, through the roof. And the Democrats don't want to repeal it, but then they use the excuse for the Republicans that, hey, you know, this isn't going to benefit everybody. Donald Trump didn't say it would benefit everybody. It doesn't have to benefit everybody, but it will give money back to the people who pay for America to operate. And so, and not to mention, we won. So if Donald Trump wants to pass a tax plan, he should be able to. And the final point is, look at the amount of money that Barack Obama added to the budget, and the Democrats now want to say, well, if it isn't cost neutral, then suddenly it's a bad plan.
Okay, so Scott, Kevin just mentioned we won, referring to the Republicans. Elections have consequences, essentially. This is actually going to be good for your small business, Scott.
I mean, the fact that I am in a top earning category and it might benefit me personally doesn't mean it's good for the American public. This is a scam. It's it's actually brought on by a huckster. If you look at the details of the plan, if you look at healthcare, if you look at the deficit, if you look at the cut of corporate taxes, it's clear who this is benefiting. The folks from this administration, said it would bring down healthcare costs. It's going to drive up healthcare costs.
Well, we said it was going to
push down the deficit. They said it was going to push down the deficit. It's driving up the deficit.
Scott, all you got are talking points.
Excuse me.
Let him finish.
They're going to cut corporate taxes by 42%. Cut corporate taxes by 42%. We know who that benefits. Working class people don't have corporations. Corporations benefit the wealthy.
No, they're the people. They're the people that employ.
And you know what? And you know what? The fact is, if we really wanted to believe this president, he said it would be a bad tax plan for him. Let the guy release his taxes.
Okay, going back to that.
He's already released his taxes. Look, everything he just said, Steve, everything he just said are Democrat leftist talking points. Look, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. When the Democrats talk,
42% cut in corporate taxes.
Listen, I'm done with you. When the Democrats talk about raising the minimum wage, I'll give you a good example. They didn't care that it was going to hurt people with fixed incomes. If you raise the minimum wage from $7 an hour to $15 an hour, let me finish. If you raise the minimum wage from $7 to $15 an hour, you cut everybody with a fixed income. Their money goes by half. But the Democrats don't care about that. They act as if it's doom and gloom, the same way they acted as if when Donald Trump got elected, the economy was going to go into the crapper.
Okay,
the economy is booming.
Hold on just a second. Both of you, hold on a second. Here is Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, talking about how this tax bill, if it goes through, kiss life on this earth as we know it goodbye.
It is the end of the road. This health care, the debate on health care is life, death. This is Armageddon.
Armageddon. Scott, ultimately, the Republicans' intent is to lower taxes on small businesses like the one you run so that you will be able to hire more people at the lower end of the economic food chain. That's how you create jobs.
We've heard about the trickle-down myth for over a generation. It doesn't work. A $1 trillion deficit only puts our spending on the backs of our children. This is not good, certainly not good conservative fiscal policy. It's a boondoggle, it's a scam on the American public, and it's a 42.
Coming out of what we came out of with Obama.
What? The very fact that we came on to discuss the tax cuts, supposedly, and he's talking about minimum wage shows they want to say, look over here, look over here.
No, we can talk about the tax cuts. We can look at what Obama did.
Explain Obama did. Explain how a 42%
he gave us double the
cut
debt
is good
what he did.
Guys, we're going to have to end it right there. It does look as if it's inevitable. The Senate and the House are going to have a conference. They're probably going to vote on it before Christmas. Let's get together.
Steve.
Let's get together in a year and see how it's doing.
Love
All right, Scott and Kevin, thank you very much for joining us live.
My pleasure.
You bet. All right, what do you think about that? Email us. Meanwhile, 6:30 here in New York City, still ahead. Jesse Ventura is not done slamming American sniper Chris Kyle. What he just said, you're not going to like. Plus, the Dow surging, reaching a record 24,000 points. Look at that, 24,290. Stuart Varney says more market milestones are coming. He's coming up. Could he be talking 25K?
Thanks to everybody who made Andrew Jackson, The Miracle of New Orleans, #5 on the list. And I'm going back on tour after a week of soccer. I'm going to be Thursday. I'm going to be at Books A Million in Sanford, Florida. I understand that's right around Orlando. In the afternoon, I'm going to the Villages. That's my base. I wrestled an alligator there against all odds and was able to save that whole population.
You almost crushed the alligator.
I was on the cover of the magazine. And then on Friday, I'm going to be in West Palm, and there's at the Forum Club, speaking there at about noon. And if you miss me there at BrianKilmeade.com,
Are you going to miss the weather here?
Huh? Yes. Well, it's about 52 degrees here, right? It's pretty nice.
It's going to be raining this afternoon.
It's a little colder here than it is in Florida.
Yeah, weather's getting a little better down in Florida.
Hence the term snowbirds. People, when you get to a certain age, are asked to leave and go to a warmer location.
They're asked to leave?
Yes.
Those are jailbirds. Those are asked to leave and go to jail.
Aren't people, the seniors, asked to leave and go
Seniors?
south? No. Right?
There are a lot of people who just go down
No one's going to sign up to come to your book signing now.
Yeah, that was good.
They choose to leave. They're like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah,
It's cold.
all you people who had to go to Florida, you were told to leave.
I'm just saying.
Down at the big book.
It's a wise move. Right? It's a wise
I love
move,
Florida.
If you can go. And there's zero taxes, state taxes.
That's true.
There you go.
They
why they all
got
do
some
it.
pretty good property taxes, though.
Right.
Just saying.
All right.
All right, I'll be there.
Congratulations on the book. Number 5 still on the list.
It's
Good
number
for
5.
you.
That's
yes,
terrific.
thank
Very
you.
cool.
I appreciate
We're
it.
very surprised.
Obviously, a little bit. Especially with all those seniors heading south.
There you go.
Right.
Oh, my God.
All right.
All right. Jillian, you have some headlines.
I
for us.
do, and we do have some serious news and some sad news to get to, so let's get you caught up now. A Marine is in a coma and fighting for his life after saving the life of a stranger overseas. Master Sergeant Hector Trujillo struck by a car moments after pulling over to help the victim of a car crash in Japan. The 20-year veteran and father of 3 was stationed in Okinawa. He's now hospitalized in the U.S. with a skull fracture and spinal injuries. His family is raising money to help with expenses on the Go Fund a Hero website. A police officer is hailed a hero for saving the life of a choking newborn. Body camera video showing Officer William Eng rush upstairs to help baby Bella limp in her mother's arms in Savannah, Georgia. After about a minute of compressions, she started to breathe again. The baby's family thanking God for that officer's help.
Was at the right place at the right time. See, sometimes angels don't come from heaven. God have them already here, and he's an angel.
Officer Eng has been on the force a year, and this was the first time he used CPR. So here's a question. How young is too young to be on social media? Facebook is sparking that debate after designing a messaging app just for kids under 13. Messenger Kids allows children to interact in what the tech giant calls a controlled environment. If 2 children want to be friends on the app, their parents must approve. Then they can message and do live video chat. And of course, we want to know what you think. Send us an email, friends@foxandfriends.com, or find us on Facebook or Twitter. I'm sure that's going to get a lot of reaction, guys.
That's what we need. We need the kids on more social media.
Instead of their smartphone for a second.
Right, yeah, or they could just talk to people, wait to see them the next day in school.
They just don't do that much.
Right.
I made the mistake of giving the phone to Hayden the other day. She was trying to run around the restaurant, and we were getting ready to leave, and I gave her the phone to watch something. And the guy next to me, they were talking about it, and he was an older gentleman, and he said, you know, we never did that when we were growing up. I said, I know, I'm guilty of it. So I made a conscious effort not to do that again. And the next night, we were at dinner, and I was like, I'm not doing it. I brought a whole bag full of supplies. Like I had crayons
right?
and
Like the
coloring
old days.
books. I had toys.
You're so
I had
analog.
baby dolls. It worked too. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. No hate mail, please.
Right.
I'm just doing my best.
Absolutely. All right. Meanwhile, take a look at this map that Janice has got right there. Janice, there is a big change coming. That's what you call a cold front.
That would be a cold front. 24-hour temperature change. In some cases, 35 degrees difference from this time yesterday. So it's a coming. Changes are coming. We could see actually some snow in the forecast for the Northeast Friday into Saturday. Stay tuned. There's your current wind chill, so single digits teens, the coldest air of the season, and the first big snowstorm this season for the Northern Plains, Upper Midwest. That's on the move, but you saw that the cold front ahead of it, we've got warmer than average temperatures, so it's mainly going to be a rain event from the Northeast back through the deep South. But the next system, Friday into Saturday, going to have to watch. It's going to be coastal low. The cold air will be in place, and we could see our first big, well, not big, but first taste of snow for the season across the Northeast. So stay tuned. We'll bring you the latest. Back to you, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian.
All right. It's exciting.
So it looks like some rain is falling right now in South Carolina.
That's right. And Todd Pirro went to the state that I am from, and he's in Greenville, where my mom was born, where my grandparents lived. And you're at a very famous place. Everyone in Greenville knows Stack's Omega, and that's the diner where we find Todd this morning. Todd, aren't those folks just wonderful?
This is an amazing place. People could not have been nicer. And of course, everybody loves Fox and Friends here in South Carolina. But let's be honest, they love Ainsley the most because she is a native daughter of the great state of South Carolina. So, Ainsley, a kiss from your home state. All right. I've also found the one gentleman from Boston who lives here in South Carolina who's not a Red Sox fan. So you know this is going to be an amazing interview. It's Dan. He voted for President Trump, and he's very excited about tax reform, excited it's going to pass. Why do you say that?
Because it's about time. Something needs to happen with this country. We need to pick up the ball and get moving.
And you told me that you are actually disappointed in tax reform in the sense that it's not going to be for everybody, meaning you think it should even be for the rich. Why do you say that?
For the same reason. Rich people, I've never got a job from a poor person. So if everybody gets a tax cut, best for everybody. It's best for everybody.
Nancy Pelosi called this tax bill Armageddon. How do you respond to that?
Well, I don't have too much faith in anything that Nancy Pelosi says. Armageddon is what we've been experiencing over the course of the last 8 years, if you ask me.
Let's switch to the travel ban. You said smart move. Why do you say that?
We don't agree with terrorism in this country, and we don't think if Islam is kind of bad in terms of terrorists, and we don't need any terrorism in this country.
Radical Islam, you're specifically referencing.
Radical Islam, correct.
Understood. All right, Dan, thank you very, very much. We're going to toss it on back to New York City, and I'm going to eat this. This is a baked potato omelet, and I'm going to take it from Dan, even though Dan is the coolest guy in the world, because he's not a Red Sox fan.
Have
he's
a
from
great
Boston.
day.
Stop it. All right, thank you very much. That sounds delicious. A baked potato omelet.
Right, a lot of starch.
So?
A lot of starch.
But a lot of protein, too.
Right.
Balances it off.
Okay.
Deliciousness.
Write us. Tell us what you think.
We like it.
All right. I'm going to read now. Coming up, it was a huge announcement. Police catching a serial killer in Tampa. But some people missed the message because that sign language interpreter.
No.
No way.
No,
Again,
another one?
Was a fake. Basically, she's calling plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wow. All right. Plus, the Dow Jones closing at a record $24,000 or $24,000. And Stuart Varney says it could set another record by Christmas. Your 401ks are going up. Stuart's here to break it all down.
Hello,
for you.
Stu. Good morning.
Hey.